What's up, everybody? Pavis here. Today, we're going to be watching Game Maker's Toolkit, How to Become a Game Designer. Now, I've watched this video before. I've got some notes that I'm going to go over as I watch it, and I'm going to give my insight as a game designer, as somebody who recently became a game designer, went to game school, applied to game jobs, went through the exact process this video talks about. I'm gonna react to it, give my thoughts. They talked to a lot of designers as they made this video, so the information is pretty sound. So don't expect any massive disagreements, but I think it would be interesting to expand upon some of the points and give my own 2 cents about what they recommend to do and what they say, and maybe how some of it applies in action. So yeah, should be fun.
If there's one question I get asked more than anything else, it's this. How do I become a game designer? Unfortunately, I'm not really equipped to answer this question.
So first thing I like about the video that he did do is he actually talked to game designers. Nowadays, people are very aware that a game designer is a job. Whereas, I mean, even when I was just getting out of high school, like, I wasn't even really thinking about it until I found out about it. It wasn't something at the forefront of my head that's something that you could even do as a career. I feel like even 10 or 15 years ago, people would kind of look at you weird or people wouldn't really get it. Whereas now I think the general public and most people at large, like, this is an accepted career. Maybe not in certain families or among maybe the wide general public, but especially on the internet with channels like Game Maker's Toolkit or game design analysis channels just on YouTube presenting it as a valid path.
What does a game designer actually do? Because depending on where you work, the design role might be a very general position or an extremely specialized one.
This is actually very important to get across, that game design as a job role is super broad. It's super broad, and so many things fit under it that what a game designer does is going to change dramatically based on where you are. You could be a game designer where your job is to just be in charge of one system, one little slice, and that's it. That's your one little slice that you're designing, that you're in charge of, and that's it. That's all you get. You could also have the same title, game designer, and be in charge of everything. All the levels, all the mechanics, all the systems, everything. So the range of responsibilities is as wide as the size of the company and the team. It's more about how specialized you are and what specialization you have under design, or whether it's a more general thing. Like, it varies wildly from company to company, team size to team size, genre to genre. I'm wondering what the structure of a game design team looks like. Like you said, a designer could be covering one specific area. How do you collaborate with other members of the team? If you're on a team of designers, usually designers are tackling different aspects of the design. Usually it's constant meetings to make sure you're not stepping on each other's toes and that tasks are divided to the right people. And constant communication between designers is integral to the job. Communication is critical, absolutely critical. And if you have any questions, talk to that designer in order to make sure there's not any problems that the design meshes. And this is all under the umbrella sometimes of a lead game designer who's in charge of everyone on the design team and making sure it's cohesive.
On a very small mobile game, for example, the game designer might be responsible for every aspect of design.
That's me, by the way. That's my job. That's what I do.
Designers will be given tools to manipulate the mechanic further, perhaps a simple scripting language to plan out interactions, or a spreadsheet of stats to change.
So this is very accurate to what a game designer does. Does a game designer need to be a jack of all trades? No, but I think a general knowledge of how games are constructed and at least one other field with a good level of knowledge of what is needed, I think that is really, really going to help you or help a game designer do their job more effectively.
How do you become a designer? It's the million-dollar question. You need to be able to think in terms of design. You need soft or interpersonal skills like communication. You'll need a strong portfolio to show what you can do, and for a lot of roles, you'll need some level of experience in the games industry.
This is, again, very accurate. This is definitely the 4 things you need. I really want to highlight the soft skills. The soft skills are so, so important. You can be a great designer with a great portfolio, but if you can't communicate effectively with your team, you're done.
If there's one piece of advice I got from pretty much everyone I talk to, it's this: make stuff. Show people.
I cannot agree with this enough. It sounds like way too simple advice, but how do you start building a portfolio? You start making games. Unreal and Unity are the standard right now. They're the standard in terms of what studios use, and learning how to use these tools and making games with them is going to serve you well no matter where you end up in the industry if you decide to go into it. But there's other engines, and each one has their own proprietary engine sometimes that like you're going to have to learn on the spot. But Unreal Engine and Unity are great places to start. You should take this free online Unity course. Yeah, pretty much. I'm not endorsing any Unity course here, but that's definitely something you got to do.
These don't need to be full games. They can be vertical slices, game jam projects, and prototypes.
This is another thing. You don't need to make a masterpiece either. All of the games in my portfolio are about 5 to 15 minutes long. They don't need to be even super complicated. They just need to be finished. Did you make games outside of your classes? Yes. And I highly encourage you to do that. Use the skills that you are learning in school and outside of school, apply them. When you make games on your own time as well and you have finished products, you can also send them to local game festivals, student competitions, and sometimes you get accepted to conferences to go and show your game to people.
You can also work with others to make a game, but when it comes to your portfolio, you need to clearly explain which bits you personally came up with.
Also important, you have to explain what you did, why you did it.
Whatever's on your portfolio, make sure your stuff is finished, even if it's incredibly short. Try to focus on your best work and always pick quality over quantity.
You don't want to show unfinished work as final work. You really want to show that you are able to do this process from beginning to end. You've gone through the complete process of and finished. Same thing with quality over quantity. Don't throw on some random school project that you half-assed for a grade. And if that means like you only have 2 things on your portfolio instead of 3, just leave it at 2. Are you implying that you half-assed projects for grades? I would never do that. Every day at college, I put in my 100%. Never once did I do something in less than an hour just to get it submitted. And did I not?
While some studios will absolutely have entry-level positions for design, they're uncommon and highly sought after.
Holy shit, I cannot stress this enough. Getting an intern or junior game design position is fucking hard. Everybody's going after them, and there's hundreds upon hundreds of people applying for them, and you have to be at the top of your game. How do you get connections in the industry? That's a tough question. Most of my connections come from school. So if you are in school, talk to your professors. Talk to them, get to know them, befriend them. Talk and befriend people around you and people in your kind of cohort or your class, above and below. School was the biggest help for me on that, but I made connections other ways. I went to game industry events, local ones. Usually there's events at bars or at schools or at companies where people just gather and show their games or talk about games or give talks. Be on the lookout for those types of events to go and attend. Don't go after people just because you know that they're like a top designer or like work at a company that you like. People know or can sense that you're trying to use them. Participate in online game jams. There's lots of them held on itch. You have options even if you've never made a game in your life before.
Perhaps the best advice is to remember that your first job probably won't be designing games at Blizzard or Bungie. You can't be picky at this stage, so get experience at places making mobile games, or kids games, or even gambling games, before making the leap to the studios making your favorite blockbusters.
Okay, so this is an interesting tip. Obviously, everyone has their dream jobs. Like that mindset or that dream isn't wrong. It's not wrong to have a company that you want to work for or a game you want to work for, temper your expectations, apply for those jobs, gun for them, aim for them, but don't be picky. I definitely agree. Don't compromise your ethics because that will drain you. Or if you're going to do that, be aware of the mental drain it will have on you.
If you take these courses, you'll be taught game design theory and enough programming to get you started by people with industry experience. This is a strong and increasingly popular route into the industry. But almost everyone I spoke to, including the lecturers themselves, warned that the college diploma itself isn't the important bit.
There is a lot to unpack here. The actual quality of the courses are going to vary wildly. Not all of your classes are going to be great or you're going to get value from. In fact, a lot of what you're taught in game school, you could theoretically teach on your own. In terms of programming, most of the programming knowledge I have in school, I could have just learned on my own, to be honest. What really gives some of these classes value is the professors, because the professors can put it in a context related to games and share their experience with it and apply that to the class and really get across the concepts in a game context. You really have to be aware that coming out of game school, you're not going to be a master programmer, master artist, and master designer all at the same time.
You'll also get to meet friends.
This is the most important part. This is the most value you get from game school. Connections in the industry. I'm not even joking. Working with people on games and connecting with people that I could make games with and build those portfolio pieces with was huge.
But almost everyone I spoke to, including the lecturers themselves, warned that the college diploma itself isn't the important bit.
Okay, this is difficult. The degree actually offers a certain amount of power. If I wanted to work in the United States and immigrate to the United States, having a diploma would makes my life so much easier. Now, a lot of postings will mention having or not having a degree as a requirement, but the fact it's even there sometimes as a requirement means that piece of paper will sometimes give you the leg up.
Opportunities and connections you're provided, and it's about having the time to really focus on building out your portfolio.
I agree on this point. Building out your portfolio in school. School is the opportunity to do that and when you should do that, especially with your free time if you have it, within reason. Don't work yourself to death on your free time just to create more games.
University can be an expensive proposition.
Yeah.
If you do decide to study game design, make sure you research the school carefully.
Definitely do this. This is something I didn't do that I wish I did. Not that I'm entirely dissatisfied with my game design school experience.
Also, knowledge of relevant disciplines such as economics, architecture, art, and psychology could make you a better candidate when going toe-to-toe with those who have exclusively studied game design.
Also, actually a pretty great advantage if you have it. Game design is ultimately a creative field, and having experience and knowledge of lots of different fields means that you have more knowledge and reference to draw upon, which means you can make more creative and interesting designs.
Do you have good communication skills, including confidence in pitching your ideas? And are you resilient to feedback on your work? Don't be surprised if the employer dismantles your portfolio pieces to see how you'll react to criticism of your ideas.
I did get asked about my portfolio pieces. I wouldn't say they ever got dismantled, but people definitely wanted to know the rationale behind decisions, why I did things, how I did things, and how I responded to feedback. Those were definitely questions that came up a lot of the time. So
I've heard more than one studio ask candidates what would happen if you remove one of the options in rock, paper, scissors to see how they'd work through the problem and show that they understand game balance.
I have had this exact same question, by the way. You're going to see this question all the time. I had a design test where I had this exact same question. I also got asked often, what's my favorite game? And then what's something I like about that game and why? And also, what's something I would improve upon that game or change? That's another common question that came up a lot.
It's very common to be asked about the games you've been playing lately.
Exactly. Yeah.
This isn't small talk. It's a chance for you to show some analysis, criticism, and understanding of design. You can practice this by analyzing, reviewing, and breaking down the games you play.
Highly agree with this. In many, many ways, me doing the Pavis Productions videos and the Pavis videos really kind of honed these skills for me on my own time. I was just doing them anyway.
Level design test, you may be asked to plot out a map for a short level that includes a new mechanic or an enemy encounter. This will usually involve the studio's existing games,
Exactly.
so be familiar with their back catalogue. These can be pretty stressful, especially if you're asked to do it on.
Oh my god, these can be stressful. I agreed. Sometimes the turnaround on these tests is very short. Sometimes you only get a few days to do this. Sometimes you get a few weeks. Like, you get very self-conscious about your designs and whether it's good or not. And you look at it too hard and you think, oh, is this good? Is this crap? I don't like this, but I have to submit it anyway. Or I do like this, but I didn't do it justice how I wanted to. Or I didn't have enough time to do this to the degree I wanted to. It's a lot of stress, and also just looking for a job is stressful in general.
Game studios frequently have mass layoffs or full-on studio closures. Game designers may receive threats and abuse online, and there are even stories about sexual harassment in the workplace.
Yeah, the games industry isn't pretty. I'll just put it like that. The games industry is not pretty. Talking about getting into this industry, you have to talk about this stuff, especially if you're a person of color or any type of minority group. You're going to encounter lots and lots of stuff that's going to put you off the industry. It's something you'll see in game school, in the games industry, and it's an unfortunate, ugly side that's everywhere.
It's worth remembering that you don't need to work at Ubisoft or Rockstar to be a game designer.
100% this. It's as simple as that. Like, to design games, it doesn't have to be at your dream place.
And I promise you that the solo designers of Axiom Verge, Stardew Valley, and Gunpoint had way more creative control than the dude working on Red Dead Redemption's horses.
I think this is another very important point. How much level of control do you want over design or what you make? Like, if you really want to become a quest designer or an open world designer, and you have that as your target, then like the scope of that responsibility is way lower than somebody who, say, wants to, again, make their own game or have a large amount of responsibility. That range of design and what level of control you want over the design and what you're looking for is going to vary wildly from game to game and from studio to studio.
That's not to say that this route is any easier than getting hired, and it's not a guarantee of making a living wage, let alone becoming a millionaire.
So many indie games come out every year. Very few are profitable at all. Yeah, if you're going this route, be aware of that too. And keep in mind your own financial security and your situation before you bet it all on your indie game or your one game idea that you have.
It's also a job that's not without its challenges and hardships, but it can be a very rewarding career. You won't just be playing games, you'll be helping make the experiences that the next generation of players will be obsessing over. A huge thank you to everyone who helped me with this video.
Okay, so there you go. I really want to expand upon the points it brings up, what it's saying, offering my own experience and my own perspective. Keep in mind, by the way, in terms of my advice is not gospel. It's not 100%. My advice is the perspective of someone who just recently graduated from a game school and just recently entered the industry as a designer. You shouldn't only listen to just my perspective on this. You should probably listen to more experienced designers and their takes on it as well, because it might be more complete than mine. Thanks for spending your evening with me, rambling and rumbling. I'll see you in the next one. We'll do more game design talk streams in the future. Yeah. Have a good night.